record. All right, so we were looking at this last class. We had a number of examples here with a regular wall and the door wall. And inside of Unreal Engine, we were under a blank setup. So we're going to do that again just as a reminder for that. It is super important that you guys set this up correctly. We did this quite a bit last semester with Maya just to make sure everyone's on the same page. So inside of MV, it's important. Actually, let's see here. Let me open up. So I have two SD cards or drives. Let me just get this one up. It's where I like to keep all my Unreal content on another one just to keep that organized, and it's also the reality of how big Unreal Engine projects are. They do become pretty big in the sense they take over quite a bit of our space here. So I've got under here my projects. We were looking at My Little Dungeon. So that's right here. Let's try to open this one first, and then we'll talk. Let's talk about first. So we'll use that one to get going, but when we're setting this thing up, as a reminder, we're under blank. We have your project named, and then we have our location. So I couldn't find mine. It was in my other thumb drive. If I know where that is, I don't need to hit create. Under recent projects, I can just go to browse and then send that here. So let's open. Okay. So just like in Maya, if you aren't working in a project, you're just working with Maya files, good luck. You're going to have like just a mess of items everywhere. You want to keep it organized. You want to make it so things are easily found because the act of producing assets is not a single handshake from Maya to Unreal. It is testing, it is iterative designs, and it is retesting, looking at size, looking at color and texture, and again, bringing that back around. So you don't want to get in this habit where it's like, okay, well, I just threw this over here, no big deal. I'm not going to worry about it. I'll bring that back later. You want to make sure that you're keeping content in very neat, organized locations that are easy to find. And so I have that right here, these two different doors. I'm going to use most of this, but one of the things that I think a couple of you are saying to me, this is terrible. Like, if I think about a corridor, this is only going to go out to be, like, let's duplicate this. So let's move this over. Duplicate it, and then I'm going to rotate it. I don't know about you guys, but my dungeons, I like to have a lot of space. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing in that dungeon for the day. Jumping around, kicking things, I don't know. But this is too small. It's like a hotel room hallway, or a hotel hallway. I want some more space to that. So if I use this cube again as reference, what if I made it so the top of the wall goes all the way out to point to over here? That's going to make it so my dungeon maybe is this wide. So from here to there. So let's get rid of that one. Let's say with this, I'm going to actually try to do this with a lattice. I don't want to have to remodel anything. So what I'm going to do, UV, or my deform, lattice, and right now this lattice has a division of 3 in my STU. What the heck? So we have X, Y, Z, STU. This is all meant to represent 3D forms, but try to show it in ways that doesn't have an overlapping letter. Unfortunately, UVW does have an overlap there, so that's kind of an odd spot there. But if I were to change this, so if we look at my T, that I think is height. Let's see. Yep. So if I put 5, you'll notice it's going to rest right up against here. This is different depending on your models. So everybody's going to have something different here. But what this is going to afford me is the ability to modify this without having to go from scratch, which is great. If I pull this, there we go. Now, and there's double. So don't worry. But I have that. I'm going to go and then grab this. And then if I hold the V key down, I can snap it to that corner. Let's look at it from the top view. And let's also turn off our grid because it's super, super noisy. It will. It will. Let's see. Panels, perspective, perspective. Huh. Now I do have a little bit of something going on in the middle, so we'll adjust that. Let's take this one for the regular wall, hide that. Here's what I got. What the heck? Notice I have like just a little bit of odd stretching here. And the reason why that's happening is because I have these bricks. So the lattice is trying to pull that, but it's not really able to do a great job on interpreting some of these little shapes there. Not a big deal. I can adjust that by hand a little bit more. So if I look at this lattice, I might not be able to pull this back since it's been made. You'll notice it won't let me. So let's just go back and try that one more time. It actually looks like there's distortion already on this, by the way. It does. It's curving. So you'll notice this already has a little bit of a rounded out form on this. And that's because there's like an indent to this brickwork. So I'm just going to help that along. Pull that out a little bit more. That kind of fixed that pretty well. So I don't need perfection. I just need this to work. I'm going to go in and what if instead of me doing this, and you'll notice I perform that triangulation on here. If I find these diagonals, Control Delete, I can get rid of those. So I got rid of those. When they're on the end, that becomes a little bit harder to do sometimes. So you notice I can't Control Delete. It sometimes does that wrong. Since I'm only deleting a edge on the end, delete actually works. I'm not going to have an extra vertice floating around. By doing this, it's going to allow for me to do this. Select and extract. So with extract, now it's a separate model. And I'm just going to go into this and let's actually, instead of using the lattice, what if we do this? I have this selected. Scale it out. So if I scale it out, that's actually not too bad. It's not deforming this too much. The only problem is when I scale this out, it's not going to lock in like that lattice end. So I have to kind of do this by eye. So I kind of have to match this by eye. And then we'll use vertex, grab this one, and then hold down V and snap it to the corner. So now what do I have? I have a roof, or a top, and it's looking a little bit boring, so we're just going to go in and grab maybe these, pull up a little bit, grab this one, pull that up a little bit, and then this one, maybe something like that. So good, we've been able to introduce maybe just a little bit more information on this. And now we're going to combine all this down. Now I have this one and I have regular wall. The regular wall does not have that issue. So what if I go in first? Let's seal the deal on this one. So let's just double check on that. Regular wall appears to have disappeared. Grab all this and we'll combine it. I'm going to cut this and paste it into this file. I don't know where my regular wall went. Let's see. If I go and have this on, it's still not here. But if I go right click and let's see, can I select the objects? I did. That's not my wall. So at some point in Maya, it glitched and I lost an asset. Am I freaking out about that? No. That sometimes happens. I mean, you guys all know at this point with Maya. How do I solve this problem that I have? I have this piece that I want to be able to use, but I had a regular wall. I don't want to have to remake that. Well, let's do this. We're going to do edit, copy, and then now we're just going to reopen the scene. So what this is solving me, me just delete this one. Control Shift or Control V to paste. I just pasted this one in. It will have a pasted wall. I'm going to delete this layer and then add it to this one. So just as some cleanup, you'll notice it also has pasted door or poly surface on there. But what I was able to do was go back to a file prior to that error and paste in my newer work. So it's not like I'm like, oh gosh, it did something wrong. Let me just shut this down. Some of you, I think, have had that happen where it's like, I guess I better restart this. Well, can you salvage something from that error file rather than having to start from scratch? So I have this one, and I have this one. Let's get rid of the top part here. And we'll put this one in with it. So I'm going to Control D to duplicate, and I'm going to add it to this layer. And then now, I'm just going to add, so I just want these faces. So I'm going to inverse my selection. Control Shift I to inverse, delete. So now I have this wall that I'll combine. I don't need to merge vertices, by the way, for Unreal. It doesn't care. It just needs to lay next to each other. So I have my door wall. I have my regular wall. And those are going to be ready to go. So let's see. Do these stack together well? Or are they modular? Let's put this on the grid. And where I want to put my pivot point is right on that corner for origin, right there. Let's open up door hole and move that over, and now I have this. Pretty good. It looks pretty modular there. I don't like how these two are together, but we're going to say that that's fine for now. Okay, that's doing pretty good. Now, here's the test. Let's duplicate this one and flip it. So it's over here. Now, if I bring that over, and we'll just snap that one over to here. Modularly, this will connect. Maybe I want some cross piece in here to make that look better, but this is pretty good. What you guys add is going to be up to you on this. You can add all sorts of fun stuff. One of the things, let's just do that right now. What if I do want that cross section? Well, I'm going to go into this part and find a strip of bricks. So let me move this over. I'm going to grab, let's just grab this one. Multi-cut right here. And I'm going to grab maybe here and here. So by doing this, I now am recycling this piece to turn into a beam on the top surface. So if I push this down, it now looks three-dimensional. Center my pivot. If I bring that over into here and I snap that pivot in the middle, now I have a little bit of depth on that. Again, this is up to you guys on how you want to design that, but this is a way that I cheat. So I can put that up here, and now that's a beam I can introduce that can go across. Whoop. Well, this will occlude that seam. It'll hide that. So this piece I think is fine to just duplicate like that. So you won't have like Z fighting? No, I will not have Z fighting. I do need to re-output these though. So I don't need to worry about where my pivot point is. Right now the pivot point is smack dab in the center. When we output to Unreal Engine, it generates pivot point at origin. Origin is right down here underneath that dude. So if I had this object here, the pivot point would actually be over here floating. So we don't want this piece to be there. So the reality is when we're working in Maya to output objects into Unreal Engine, it all needs to kind of stack on top of each other. So you'll notice I have this piece right here. Let me get rid of that grid again. So I have this piece right here. That's where I want that to exist inside of my scene if it makes sense when they're connected. So I want to put that in and have that as maybe a beam stone. And we'll give this a name, Beamstone. Delete my history. Let's put this one back where it belongs, at origin. That's regular wall. So we got beamstone, door hole. Let's make wooden plank. So we talked about this last time for the door. I'm gonna take part of this, just this piece. Let's grab this front part. Pull it out a little bit more. Just a little bit. That's not bad. And it doesn't have a back to it. Well, what if I try... This might take a while to build out a shape. What if I actually took this? And what if I made a cube? Scale it up. Stretch it out. And then now, let's do a cylindrical unwrap. So cylindrical, I want it to go around this side. I'm going to just lift it up to go like this. 90. Let's see what we made. So I'm just making some additional objects for my scene. Right now, this looks bad. UVs, UV editor. So there's my texture down there. It's huge. Scale this down. Not concerned about the end caps. Those aren't really that bad. I want to grab this and kind of put that like right here. And by doing that, what I'm going to get is a wood and beam. Problem is, this texture is just so stretched out. It's so big that grain really won't work well for me. So what I need to do is cleverly think about how I can lay this out a little bit better. If I go into my UVs again, what if I take this and stretch that out so it is taking up one of these planks I made? Now, what if I do something a little bit weird? What if I take the UVs here and move that up to here? That doesn't seem like anything's happening. But what is actually happening, if this is a flat 2D image, and this is like another face here, if I take these two and pull that up, think about this middle part as a fold. So now I'm overlapping that space. Now I'll grab this and pull that down. And I'm gonna fold this other one up. So basically, I'm almost thinking about this as like paper, where I'm just like unwrapping this around one another. Now, these are all kind of folding in on each other. And again, I can help you out with that if that's like, what the heck did you just do? I unwrap this. Could I possibly add a bevel on this post unwrapping? Yeah. So if I have something unwrapped, you'll notice the beveling, as long as I don't go too far on that, will generally keep that shape. Now, sometimes this can go a little bit awry. That's going to be something where, like, if I bevel, that's getting kind of weird. Right. So if I go into here, that's off. It may not allow for me to do this with the boolean, but we'll check. Or the bevel. Yeah, it doesn't want to do that. So what if these caps are gone? And I try that. What's my UVs doing? It's trying to interpret them in a way that they're getting smushed. So this is just one of those things where sometimes that works. This one did not work very clearly. I actually have polygons floating around in here. So I'm going to do a different trick instead of a bevel. Multi-cut. We're going to go around some of these corners. Now, this is advanced stuff, but I know some of you are trying to push this into a level where you can start to construct some really clever things. I'm showing you some tricks that I've used in the past to get around some of the hiccups of 3D. Right now, if I take these and I pull those in, I now have a bevel. Whoop, almost. So now I have that beveling on all but you. And then now let's beat this up a little bit. We're going to use multi-cut, and just be careful, you're going to have a knife in your hands, you know? So there you go, there you go. And then now, grab that. It wasn't. Always hand a knife to someone with the blade facing you and giving them the handle. But you notice I use this in a way where I just slashed across, because what that's going to afford me is just a little bit of organic twists. And now I have like a little bit of a beam. And so this beam, if I put that over here, scale it down to match that size. So we'll move this here. Let's get that front part snapping on the there, and then this part snapping on, whoop, not that, there. So now I know it's the same width as this piece. We'll bring this over to origin, and we'll leave that one alone. Let's output these so we can build our, oh, hold on, let's get one of these. You need to come with us too. So we're gonna bring this in. I'm gonna position this. So we got it here, and we're gonna pop that right here. So now it's on origin. If we double check with our grid, there it is. Look at them shoes. All right, there we go. So I have this piece. I have this, I've got that. Good, good, good. What about a sconce? Maybe I want like a torch or something on the wall. Let's make something very quick. So if I were to make maybe a sconce. Yeah, cylinder. And let's pop that material on it, see how it's handling it. So let's add our wood metal. Scale it up. Hey, I can make barrels and stuff with this. That's cool. So I've got this part right here. That's working pretty well. Let's actually look at our UVs right now and shape that a little bit more. Okay, so let's get rid of this piece. Let's get rid of this piece. And let's scale this up. Move that down. So now I have something like this. I don't even need the caps on this, so we're gonna get rid of that. And now let's build a sconce. So multi-cut. Here. Okay, I know it's made for students. All right, so multi-cut. Maybe we'll add a couple divisions here. And then I'm gonna use double click, bevel. All right, now that's working. Let's go in and get rid of some. And let's see. What if we do, I'm trying to think, which I might hurt myself. Let's see. Let's go this much. So we're gonna have like a division here. I'm gonna get rid of every single one of these other pieces. So we'll go around like this. So if I were to get rid of these, first let's just use extrude and push in a little bit. Whoop. But not you. You weren't invited. So now, there we go. Just make sure we got what we want. There we go. Let's use extrude and push in. Right here. I know I have a little bit of stretching. It's probably not going to be seen with what I'm about to use this for, but we'll delete this. So I currently have one-sided geometry. What if I take this whole thing and let's duplicate it, and I'm gonna scale this inwards. So we'll scale in like this, and you'll notice when I'm scaling, I'm only scaling it on the X and the Z, not the Y, because if I do that, what I can do, let's just bring that up, mesh display reverse. Now it's the inside of this. I know I have these guys that need to go away. Now, we could do this in two different ways. I could do this beforehand with this extrusion. It does require cleanup, like you can see right now. So I'm basically just getting rid of all this extra stuff. Sometimes it's easier just to do this than to try and pick up the little guys. So I'm going to do that. So let me just get the rest of this cleaned up and I'll show you the rest. So this sconce, I started with a cylinder. I extruded, and we just have to bridge these pieces. Now you could bridge this, but you'd have to UV unwrap a little bit better on that. Not a big deal. We're almost done. Okay, so now, if I were to connect these, let me just get my scale out again, bring that in about there. Okay, select and combine. And then now, if I have these, bridge. Weird. This happens sometimes because the normals get flipped. So sometimes, notice that what that did, right? We have this one, that one, bridge. This is like bridging polygons that are super far away. If I help Maya along with this and do one bridge first, and then go around, get rid of these, you're basically assisting Maya in being able to know where it was supposed to bridge from. So I could have bridged these guys earlier too, to prevent these little holes, or I have to go in and basically take my vertices and snap those in. So that's up to you on what level of pain you want. I'm gonna go bridge that and then double click, deselect these again and bridge this, and I made this thing. So if I want more detail, multi-cut. Yep.
So, if we wanted to do extra stuff like this,
Yep.
does that mean we wouldn't be doing anything in Unreal?
We were about to.
I do want to get some extra stuff in there, but I'm worried I'll fall behind with the Unreal process.
So the Unreal process is probably the fastest part of all this. We have today and next class. So yes. I have this ready to go. I'm keeping that on Origin. And this is all I'm going to have for a model. And we'll call that brazier or sconce.
So the fire is something you do in Unreal?
Yep. So we're going to just put a light in there for now. I'm going to output all this stuff. So we're going to do our first one right here. Export selection. And we will call this floor. So you notice I have a whole bunch of these from previous time. We're going to do that 2026. So we'll call this first one FBX. And here's another thing. I'm not going to be outputting my embed media. I just don't want those materials coming in. I just want the assets. So let's say that this is going to, or technically assets are also materials and textures. I just want the models. Or the meshes. So we're going to call this floor. We got this thing, wood, door wall, and then there is regular wall. So we have all these. All right. Last time we looked at this with like a default environment. So we were in this one. We're going to go a little bit further than that. We're going to actually make an environment. So how do we do that? File, new level. I want to use an empty level. Create. You'll notice down here, assets that we were looking at last Wednesday still exist. We're going to clear these out and bring in new ones anyways because we put in those ceilings on this. So I also forgot that ceiling joiner thing that I made. But we're going to work off of this blank environment. So to get our stuff into here, you'll notice inside of let's see, Maya, file export. Let's find that location. Okay, here it is. Control C to copy that, cancel, and actually let's just get this other guy in here too. So we have that little beam for stone right there. Let's output that too. So file, export selection, stone, beam, whatever you want to call that. Okay, let's find this. Let's go into our location. We're going to get to our exports. Here they are. And then now that these are hovering right here, we're just going to drag those directly inside of Unreal Engine, right into here. So we're going to grab all this, pull them in. So you're going to have it ask you a bunch of questions. Do you want this on? Do you want that off? We're just going to hit import and let those import. Here they all are. And you'll notice because I didn't want to have the materials in here, it's going to bring in some default materials, but it shouldn't bring in a different texture set per model. That's important. Sometimes that happens and we have to deal with a whole bunch of textures that it generated. They have to delete. We don't want that. So this is asking me, do I want to overwrite the texture group? Sure. Yes. And so now, here it comes. It's populating this. We're going to apply to all. There it goes. Bringing them all in. Okay. So let's do a little investigation. This tried to reduce how many things popped in. You'll see some of this stuff is here. But I do have ground base color, ground normal. Okay, that's a different texture. So that popped in with a new texture here. Wood low, normal, and color, that brought it in. But what you're not seeing is I made a whole bunch of stuff with the wall texture. It did not bring in any more of the images of the textures. That's because I didn't have that box checked to import new materials. If you or embed media, it would do that if it didn't have that set up. So this is not great. We'll set this up in a second, but this is part of the export. So in here, I've got my new door wall. I don't need this one. Delete. My other one that I had, my regular wall, we're going to delete that one. So now, I've got these. If I were to drag one of these in, and look at this, the hell is that?
I've seen that texture before.
You've seen this?
Mm-hmm.
Was it in a nightmare?
It's an error texture. I've
Okay.
only seen it in Fortnite.
Oh,
Where they will
Cool.
like a news page and then it'll pop up some virtually error texture.
that's mold. Yeah, that's really gross.
That's just mold.
I've not seen this, which is weird. So we're gonna fix that in just a second. We did make a material last class. So we had our wall material. And I'm gonna get rid of all of these materials and the textures that are associated with them just so I can start from scratch. So I'm gonna walk through this part again and then we'll put these in with lights. So let's delete these out along with this. And this. Okay. We'll ignore if they're not working right now. Material. Wall material, that's what I want to be able to use. You notice I have a whole bunch of errors because I deleted some stuff out. That's okay. So inside of my over here, in my scenes, I have from substance. So in here, the substance work, I output those already. And let's see where those are. Export to Maya. Castle walls. Okay. Here's some of those. And then my other material. What if I can't find that? Let's see if we go into Hypershade right here. So let's see. We have our wall, and then let's click this button, and then where is this linking to? Grab it. Copy, and then we'll paste this in. So I'm going to set this up for 1 just to save us some time. Here these are. Let's drag these so we can see them. Whoop, let me make sure Unreal is the number 1 right there. Okay. Let's drag these in. I have a folder in here called Materials. And what I'm going to do, right-click, Make Material. So you'll see there's a material right there. Making a folder is as simple as right-clicking in here and making a new folder. That's what I already have right there. So this wall material is what I'm going to use, and I need to get these textures into here. So right now it has the metal and wood, but I need to bring in the rest of these. So I'm going to bring all these in. Okay. And then now let's link these in. So we don't need height, so we'll get rid of height. But we need our color. We need our metallic. And these other ones. Let's grab that and bring it in. Okay. So now, these are all linked, but they're broken. So we're just going to go delete, 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 delete. And this guy, RGB base color. This guy. This is like a metallic or something. We'll leave that one alone. This is going to be roughness. We'll bring that into roughness. And then we have our normal. We'll put into a normal. So there are other ways using a compact texture we'll look at next class. I don't want to go into too many different setups here. This is going to get me this texture set up for me. I'm going to hit save. Watch this. If I get that in to my material, my object. So let's go into asset. My regular wall. Regular wall can't find anything. Well, it's got materials associated with that. I don't need these. So let's see if we can actually say it's going to be wall. And there's wall material. So that one's good. And then this one needs wall material because I had it in 2 different materials on there. Wall material. Okay, save. So this is something we would have to do with connecting all of these, is we just need to make sure that these are receiving the same information. There we go. And then this part right here, I think is the wood part. So let's see. We got our materials. We have our wall material. The wood one we have to make separately. I'm going to jump ahead here just so we can see how these assemble. All right. I got this. I got that guy. No lighting. What I'm going to first do is snap these together. And you'll notice, there it goes. I'm using the setup that we are already using, and I'm at 100 for my snap. And if I hold down the Alt button, I can change these out. But for the sake of time, I just want to introduce some lighting in here. If you get to that, that's great. We still got another day to finish wrapping this up.
Are the hotkeys for like move, rotate, and scale the same?
All of the hotkeys for move, rotate, and scale are the same. What is different is being able to duplicate. We use the Alt key and pull, and then it makes another one. And so I just want to quickly get a corridor locked in, and you'll notice, there we go, almost. I'm gonna ignore the other side now and just build this part out. So if I start with this and maybe just have 4 panels, what I can do bring that in. Oh, Alt, bring that in. So I can take all these guys. So all of these. If I hold down the Control key, I can select more. And then now, Alt, pull. I've got a longer corridor. Now this looks not so great. I need to have some lighting in here. And I also don't have my floor in here. My materials for the floor, something's off. I need to link that in. Let's just pop that in real quick so we can see it. So in my floor material, just so I can find that texture from last year, right here, ground tiles. I need to bring these in. So over here, let me paste this. Let's bring these in real quick. So in Unreal, we're gonna make a new material. Right click, new material, and we'll call this ground. Underscore MAT. And our textures. Pull these in. Importing, good. Back to our materials. We're gonna open this up. And then we're gonna pull in ground 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn that one off. We'll just use these 3 for now. Pull that right inside of here. So right in. So my normals, go to normal. This is my ambient occlusion or my roughness, and then ground, ground, ground. Here it is, color. Base color. Okay, so we have it's very, very shiny right now. I gotta adjust the metallic, so that's what this map is. It's kind of dark. A little bit better there. I'm gonna add this to that tile. There we go. Search ground. Ground mat, that's good. Here we go. That should pop in. Save. What's that? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that next class, just on some tweaks and then rendering. So I've got these guys clicking into place. The one thing I neglected to think about in this is, notice I have a little bit of a gap underneath this door. It is not the end of the world. I'm going to show you a really quick trick to get that fixed. So I'm duplicating these things, moving down my path for the ground, and then let's grab the whole row. So we'll just grab like and by the way, I'm tumbling. This is a little bit different. It's just my right mouse button that lets me kind of move my head back and forth. So the main thing is just see if we can actually output textures and see if we can get them into Unreal. I will help you guys out with that. Get that over there, and then let me get that over here. And now let's cap off this end. It might look a little bit weird at first. We're just gonna kind of make this up. So move that back. Now you'll notice when I snap this, it's not snapping in the middle. If I change my grid snap and do 50, I can go midpoint on that. And then I'll just grab another one of these guys, drag that in, and give it a rotate this way, and we'll tuck that over into the side. You'll notice this would look bad if we were on the outside looking in, but we're not. We're looking on this with inside of this model. So these seams, yeah, a little bit of hover in there, not a big deal. All right, let's put in a light. Last thing I want to show you guys. So I have my light here, and I have a material I have to add to it, but for now we'll just pop this thing in here. And I'm gonna go in to my lights, and I'm gonna add what's called a point light. Hey, it's a different world. It's getting brighter. We're going to talk about how to solve this next class. What is happening is our post-processing isn't set up. So basically, it's trying to react the same way as a human. When you go inside of a room, your eyes adapt. When you go outside, your eyes adapt. So this actually, every time that we hit play, it's going to start dark and then get brighter. Weird.
That's what happens with human.
So it should happen to humans when you go in or out of locations. So all I want to oh, see that? I'm putting feelings in things now. That's cool. All I want to show you guys for today, because we got time. I want to be able to show you guys just how we can add a color to this light. So right now my intensity is at an 8. I'm going to bring this down. It's on candelas. I'm going to go unitless, and I'm going to say go down to maybe 2000. And then I'm also going to change my color. So now we're starting to get somewhere. I don't have some other stuff, which I'll talk more about next class. I'm actually going to extend this to be next Wednesday. If I go into post-processing volumes, we're going to go fog. So this will take a little bit of time to set up, but we can start to get some atmospherics inside of here. So when we're wandering around inside of this location, it's going to have way more mood. And so that'll be something that we'll handle on Wednesday. But for today, if you can get to the point where we get our models in and I can help you out with setting up your textures and then just start poking around, build out your set, we're in a good spot. I know this is a lot. That's why I'm going to baby step this with you together. So just to see if you guys can get to this point, make a new project, import this using materials, textures, and asset, and then I will come by to make sure that's set up, and then we'll move together on Wednesday to actually get these kind of fine-tuned and see how we can maybe get a camera to move through this environment. All right.
Question.
Yeah.